La idea de la conferencia de hoy es, al igual que estos regímenes dictatoriales en Irán, Siria, Venezuela, Cuba, y en el caso de Putin, que los respalda, han coordinado su doctrina y sus políticas. El objetivo de hoy es comenzar un trabajo de integración de los movimientos de resistencia de estos países, junto con legisladores, con académicos, para poder tener una doctrina conjunta, una estrategia conjunta de defensa de la democracia. Y ese es el motivo de este foro, que es, repito, un primer paso. The goal of this forum is to, just as these dictatorial regimes in all of our countries have integrated their strategy, their doctrine, their resources, their financing, we seek to take a first step by bringing together activists, academics, policymakers in a first step towards coordinating the resistance movements of these countries in a common objective of achieving freedom and democracy in our countries. Y es con ese objetivo que vamos a tener a las diferentes presentaciones el día de hoy, de Ucrania, de Venezuela, de Irán, de Siria y muy especialmente desde Cuba intentaremos tener a Jorge Luis García Pérez Antúnez del Frente Nacional de Resistencia Cívica, Pedro Roig. Y teniendo estos hermanos aquí sentados de diferentes países, quiero pedirle a Berta Antúnez que ocupe el asiento de Cuba para que Cuba también esté junto a estos países que son la resistencia internacional. I've asked Berta Antúnez to take this chair so that Cuba will also sit along with the other resistance movements in this international democratic alliance that we're putting together today. Yo quiero darle paso al doctor Pedro Roig, quien ha sido promotor de esta idea y uno de sus organizadores, para darle comienzo al foro. Doctor. This is Dr. Pedro Roig. He's going to begin the forum.
Thank you very much, and it's really an honor for the Institute of Cuban and Cuban American Studies to welcome all of you and all our guests, because you are writing an important piece of history by bringing together, by showing that this is a concern not only of individuals in their country, but it is a fight for freedom throughout the world against the fascist regimes that are now pushing and killing and murdering your people. You are writing history, and your people and yourself are writing history, like in Cuba, in Ukraine, in Syria, Iran, and Venezuela. You are writing with your courage, and you are writing this history with blood. But as was said by Mario and by Ileana, at the end, freedom will prevail. I'm going to be very brief because really we want to hear from you. But I just want to mention something that, and we already published it and we are passing. This is the Venezuela-Cuba military cooperation and the narco-terrorist connection. This is a study that we do at the Institute, and it shows that Venezuela is today the largest route of Colombian drugs in the world. Is being added, aid and support by generals and military officers in the Venezuela armed forces. They are called the Cartel de los Soles because of the insignias that they use in their shoulders, which are soles. It is, and we offer specifically the names that has been charged by the U.S. Department of the Treasury and other organizations, federal organizations, with proof of their participation, their active participation in drug trafficking. This is important to understand that the corruption, the drug cartels in Venezuela are in power and include not only these generals, but also Nicolás Maduro is part of this network and his whole regime. In the case of, you have, for example, General Hugo Armando Carvajal Barrios, his nickname is El Pollo Carvajal. the director of military counterintelligence, and he is probably one of the most important members of this Cartel de los Soles. You have Villarroel Ramirez, Vasily Kotovsky Villarroel Ramirez is a former captain of the Venezuela National Guard, and he has moved millions of dollars of drug trafficking and laundering money. You have General Ramon Rodriguez Chacin. He was also charged by U.S. Department of the Treasury and he was Venezuela Minister of Interior. As he was Minister of Interior, he was directing and using his position for the drug trafficking. So here, you have several. To me, one that is very important because he has control of forces. He is General Cliver Alcalá Cordonés. He was, until about a month ago, the commander of the 4th Armored Division, which is the most powerful military branch of the Venezuelan Armed Forces. He has also been charged by the Department of the Treasury as being part of this network of high-ranking Venezuelan officers in drug trafficking. So, and if you go to Syria and you go to the other, Iran, and they are, you see the militaries that are corrupted, and they are fighting to keep corruption in place. And that's why the dimension of this fight is not only for freedom, but it's also for honesty. So the people will benefit from the wealth of the nation, not as is happening now. They are not only killing and murdering, but they are also robbing and stealing from your people the wealth of your nation. The Cuban connection is also well documented here. We all know and have suffered the crimes of General Ramiro Valdés. But you have also Leonardo Ramón Andoyo. He is the second in command of the MINFAR, the Cuban Armed Forces. And Andoyo is very much involved in putting together. He's the one that brought at a higher level of efficiency the drug trafficking in between Colombia and Venezuela. It all began in the frontiers. It was something that did not begin with Chavez. With Chavez and Maduro, it reached the height of the operation. But in the frontier, they have these communications between lower-ranking officers. But the Cubans that were trafficking with the Colombian drug cartels before, the Cubans were the coordinators of this operation, the ones that guaranteed to the Colombian who to deal in Venezuela. And this is the operation that has grown at the hand of General Andoyo, that has traveled several times to Colombia. And also, Venezuela is today a sanctuary, a heaven for Colombia guerrillas to go into Venezuela, rest, rearm, retrain, and go back into Colombia. And the payment is they pay in drugs, and the Venezuelans in these cartels provide them the sanctuaries and weapons. So it's a combination where this guerrilla, which is a narco-guerrilla, use these generals of the Cartel de los Soles to have safe havens and return to the fight for protecting the route of drugs. So here we mention, and I'm not going to take any more time because we really want to hear from you, but in this report we have also General Herminio Hernández Rodríguez. He was mentioned recently by one of the heroes of this process in Venezuela, Maria Corina Machado, specifically mentioned Herminio Hernández Rodríguez, Division General has been in Venezuela handling these operations. Carlos Fernandez Gondín is the second in command of the Cuban MININT. He is also heavily involved in the repression of the students in Venezuela. And there are other names. I will also mention here General Manuel Piñeiro, Comandante Manuel Piñeiro, known as Barbarroja, Red Bear. He is the one that began in the 70s the contact with the Colombian drug cartels. And through him, Cuba began this process of moving the Colombian drugs. First, they used Panama, and after the Sandinista victory, they used Nicaragua. And later, when they lose Panama and Nicaragua, Cuba became a bridge, a point for the traffic of drugs. And there are numerous evidence, actually videos from the U.S. Coast Guard taping the process of the Cuban Navy picking up the drugs being dropped by Colombian drug trafficking. So what we're saying, you are dealing with people that are not fighting for any right cause, but are fighting to be rich, robbing, and doing business in drugs. Now, in Venezuela, I just want to finish by saying, we are witnessing something historically and new, which is a new generation of young Venezuelans, men and women, young Venezuelan students, are in the street of Venezuela fighting, and they had and are creating a new leadership that is now blossoming in Venezuela. Most people don't know their name, but they are becoming the major political force, and within few more months, they'll lead the Venezuelan to victory and to freedom. And for all of you, keep up the good fight, because by being together, you are strengthening your cause. Thank you very much.